Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Don't forget to subscribe because it's free. And anyway, this is part 2 of this Becker clock, and the best I can find on this clock is it was made between 1909 and 1933, in between there somewhere, and I'm going by the trademark that's on the movement itself. Anyway, in this video we're gonna clean up this case the best we can and possibly get the movement in it. As you've seen in the last video, this is some of the trim. You can see it's been kind of off. This is the back side, and you can see the bug back in them days got in here and pretty much ate this. It's still basically solid. Can't let's say break it, but like I say, you can see how bad it was eaten. And I don't have all the trim. That trim goes on the top here, so we're gonna replace this because I'm missing one side, so we're gonna replace this. And I tried to get the same design, but I don't exactly have it. There's the end that it's going to end up looking like. You can see how it's, like I say, kind of eaten away. You see all these fine little holes that are in here. This whole case is that way, and that's because back in the day they didn't treat their wood or kill dry their wood like they do nowadays, and so the bug that was in here thrived, I guess, until they finally ate the clock alive and died. The clock was still solid, but they have a lot of holes in the whole clock, in which I already showed in the first video, and I'll probably show in this video as I get along with different pieces and whatnot. This glass here does not come out. If it breaks, you're gonna have to tear this whole clock apart in order to separate this part here, in order to also get the glass into it, and that includes the doors built the same way. And so, as dirty as this glass is, I'm going to have to clean it in place, because originally I thought this was smoke damaged or whatever. I don't know if you can see the drips on here as it got thicker. So whether it could be a fireplace, cigarette smoke, I don't know, but it definitely needs to be cleaned up. And this clock had a little bit of a rough life towards the end. I'm going to guess it fell off the wall a couple times. And so the topper that belongs on here is also broke. I gotta fix. And so let's see if we can get this clock back together again. I got 2 screws in the top, 2 screws in the bottom, and 1 screw on each side. I'm just kind of looking this clock over to see how I can get it apart. And this here is definitely not together right. So like I say, I almost have a feeling this has fallen off the wall. So I guess the hinge will take that off next and see if it'll come out of there. I didn't mean a hinge, I meant a hanger. And these screws right here are quite difficult. This one here is not bad, but this other one had a messed up head on it, and this is the same way. It's been bent over, and so it's making it extremely difficult to get them out. And I'll see about replacing those screws. Yeah, they won't be maybe the same age, but who says these are the original screws? I mean, I'd think so, but Well, that's going to make it a little bit easier to clean up. And I'm not sure how far I'm going to, let's say, refinish this. The reason why I'd possibly do it, well, besides personally, I think this has got a new coat of something, but this here is showing that nothing was taken off, possibly, although you'd think so because of that's where the gong would be hung. But anyway, I have to replace this trim here, and so that's why I'll probably end up giving this clock some kind of a refinished look, because I'm going to have to stain the new top or trim, and maybe I can get it to, we'll say, blend in better with the clock itself if I can refinish this thing. So anyway, I'm going to try popping these off. I know it's dadoed in there. I don't see any other screws in here. You just see, like right here, the joint. So I'm hoping that'll just pop right out and we can just kind of take this thing apart. Possibly before I do, this has got 2 screws screwing in there. There's one. It's got 4 screws on this side and 4 on this side, holding the movement, which the movement sits right here. So let me take those off and then we'll carefully see if we can get this thing apart. So here you can see the dust, and so you know this clock must have been sitting with the door wide open, because that is some deep dust there. And also I've noticed the 2 front screws, or I should say, let's say 4, are smaller than the 4 that were in the back. So a hint here, you notice how this is put in? This here board's got to slide forward to come out. You can't just beat it up this way because you'll break the heck out of it. So that's why this other side is pushed out, is because it's not right, I guess. So if you need to replace the glass, this glass, you can see the end of it here and the end of it here, but this board's gonna have to slide out, and you can see on the end here possibly, I don't know if it's glued in or not. I'm not necessarily wanting to take it out, but it'd be nicer if one of them would, so the glass would come out and be a heck of a lot easier to clean. Just for the heck of it, let's give it a little love tap and see if it just wants to come out. I'm going to say no on that end. And I'm going to say no on that end, so they must be glued in, and so I just use, besides cleaner, I'll use a razor blade on it. And getting this thing apart, just to show you, look at my pants. That's all sawdust that keeps falling out of this holy trim. So here will show you that it will come out, or come off, I guess we'll put it that way. I do know that they've nailed some of this in because I pulled nails out of here, and that wasn't back when this thing was built. It's when someone was trying to save what they had, I guess, and didn't want it to fall apart anymore. And if you ask me, this looks like pine. And there's writing in here. Normally the camera picks it up better than I can see it. It's in pencil. It's right, where is it? Right here and over here, I do believe. There's another marking I found, which is, this is the backboard of the clock. And I'll show you the pendulum, or not pendulum, the gong. Now, looking online, right here is what normal is, I guess, is normally the serial number. This doesn't have that serial number. No serial number at all on this. Also, with this glass here, there's these square nails. There's one there and one here, and I'm not sure if they were put in to hold the glass in place, and there's a chance if I pulled those nails I could move the glass out of that groove, lift it up and slide it out. There's a good chance of that, but not positive. These here are wood pegs, they're not nails, and so I don't doubt that's what it is wood pegs. If you get them out of there, you might be able to get that glass out. The front board off. Here again you can see how bad it's chewed up. And that's another reason why I don't mind changing this trim board. Have that carving that's missing over here, so I popped this off because it needs the top on this trim too. So I'm going to just make two of them, one this way and one this way. Also, this piece here, it's missing one of these. This one here goes in the middle. I don't know that I can make one of these, so maybe I'll put this one here. We have the missing piece here, and this is also broke off here, so now it's all together. I moved the glass this way the best I could. Should get a center in there maybe. You have to knock that little piece of wood out of there. You can see, but it's starting to come out. I have to spread this in the middle because there's nothing holding it from going back. So there we got it. So that's how you change the glass. About that hole, and I can carve a piece of wood, square, whatever, and pop it in there as long as it's tight. And of course, I don't know that you'd glue it, but you could stain it. What I was thinking is back in the day, they had wood matches, and I'm just curious whether that was a wood match that was put in there to hold the glass in. But that's actually kind of a unique way to do it without tearing the whole clock apart, I guess. See all them holes still? Like I said, it's all through the clock. This door panel, to get the glass out the same way. It's got a wood peg there, wood peg there. Once you remove them, you should be able to slide this glass in, and this part here should lift out so you can get it out. So it's actually a unique way of doing it, and I'm going to take the glass out because it definitely needs a full cleaning. And this on the door here, this piece of wood shrunk. There's nothing I can do about it, so it's going to have its natural crack there, and I'm good with that. On these wood pegs on the other side, I was actually able to get it out. Using these, gently grabbing it and then rocking it. They're so old that and this one didn't stick out very far. So this one I can't get out. The other ones I couldn't either because they just kept breaking off. So again, I'll get me a... Actually, it's nice if you can get that off of there. So you can get a straighter cut with the drill bit. So here we got the glass out, and you can see the filth. It's going to be nice to get that cleaned up. So I refinished the case. Got the new trim on. I gave it some semi-gloss after I stripped this down a little bit. Got this glued back on. Now it's time to get the glass back in after I clean the glass. Really dirty, and I'm not sure, but I do believe they might have gave this a fake refinishing on the case, and so this here might have a shellac or something on it. But we're going to go ahead and just use glass cleaner. We might have to use a razor blade to get this thing clean again. So I'm going to install the glass now, and remember we have these two holes here that you put the pegs in after the glass is brought in, and which I'm going to bring it up, push it in, then drop it down, and then the pins will lock it in. My brother Bob, these are around our area anyway, you can't get these matches that will strike, and that's about the right thickness I need. Maybe a little smaller, we'll have to play with that. I might have to shave this down with the razor blade just a little bit, but I wanted something soft, which I could have used pine, but I got to make it so it'll fit in there and it'll hold the glass from sliding up and then possibly popping out. Anyway, my brother Bob, if you want to go check out his channel, he's in the country and he's into the old wood cook stove, explains about the cook stove, how to run the cook stove, baking in the cook stove, and now he's got, it's not necessarily a trash burner, but everyone calls it a trash burner, with 2 burners on it, and he's installing water in it to be able to heat up water for his antique washing machine, Ringer washing machine. Anyway, I'll leave a link, we'll say at the end of this video, and I'll also put it in the description along with Mark and Sherry's clock videos they have. Not Sherry, but Cheryl's. She is doing a fantastic job for being what I consider a beginner, but she really studies into it and asks a lot of questions when she needs a little bit of help. Just easy as that. Let me trim up on these matches and see how well that works. I took just the edges off the match and it fits in there decently. Show you how far it fits by putting my thumb at the end of that. So that's going to be plenty long enough. So all I have to do is shave this off a bit, and I'm going to put a little drop of glue to hold this into place. I don't know if the other ones were glued, they were a tighter fit, and so this one for sure I'm going to go ahead and glue. The other one I might see if I can get it a little bit tighter before, or not shave off so much, and see how well that works out. I don't want very much on there, just a little bit. And I glued, I'm going to leave towards the outside. Slide it right in there. And I'm going to do the same with this one. Oops. And there that one is. Let me get the rest of them in. Made sure it's down all the way. I'm just back scraping this instead of trying to carve on it, because carving on it makes it way too loose. There we go. That won't need any glue. This one here I got a little bit loose, I only want just a glue on here, not anything spectacular. So if this glass ever does break, they can still drill it out easily like the original. And still, it looks like I got too much glue on there. Now I touch those up with a little bit of stain, and you won't necessarily see them. And the other one stuck out just a little bit, so that's why I'm leaving these out a little bit. But it's not going to matter because, like I say, usually they're so stiff that you're going to have to kind of level that out and then drill it out again. So I set the movement in here because I'm trying to get the gong adjusted. There were marks in the wood here where these feet sat, so I set it in there, triggered it. I took this out several times in order to, number one, adjust the hammer in or out to line up with the gong, and then I had to adjust the gong until I got the right pitch for it, so now it has a decent gong. But in the meantime, I got my board screwed back in, and I did screw this in first. It didn't have to be, because it can slide right up underneath the board if you put the screw in, or the board in first. And I also got my little metal plate down there. I don't know if it makes any difference or not, but this has an arrow. When I originally got it, it was pointing down. I've got it pointing up, so I figured that's about, let's just say, where you want the center of your pendulum to sit normally before you start it. I also tied a string and left it really short. This here will trigger the alarm or gong. I'm also planning on putting this on right now. You have to hook it to your spring here. Oh, no you don't. There's a divot in here. You have to push it through here. Now you can bring it up and hopefully hook your, just barely, there, you got it on there. And of course you have the little bump out on there also. And remember, this is a spring clutch. So once you get your clock hung and leveled, then you move this wherever it needs to, whether it's one side or the other, and listen for it tick to make sure it's doing its even tick-tock sound. So I got my movement in, and the pendulum is hitting. So I need to fix something here. I need a bigger table. So on the back side here, I have this on backwards. And that brings my pendulum closer to the movement, because before this was hitting the gong. So I got the clock running, got it on the wall. You notice the top, where am I? Over this way. There we go. That top finial isn't the right one. I just put one there so you can get an idea of it. But I need to get a taller one, at least 4 inches tall. I know I'm going to mess up the time, and I got the string installed like I showed you. The pendulum, I did a little bit of cleaning. I didn't want to do too much because that brass color or gold will come off more than likely. But there is a nice ring in there I cleaned, and it was shiny brass. The dial, I didn't even touch, just for the fear of possibly going through the finish that's on here and wiping out the numbers. On the top of the clock, these are original. I was missing one of these, and so I copied it the best I could, and I went ahead and made 2 so they would match. And it's still missing a finial in the center that looks like these. I haven't decided what to come up with to fill this in so it looks right, I guess is the way we'll put it. And so this clock was actually, at least the movement, was a joy to work on because it seems so simple, and there's actually a lot of space because there wasn't something like Westminster or whatever. And being evidently a higher class clock, the pivots on the clock were actually what I considered very small. So that almost tells me, like I said before, this was a special or a name brand clock that actually did precise work when they built their movements. Anyway, I'm thrilled with this clock. Yes, I had to rebuild the case, but for the price of what I got this clock for, it was well worth it to me. Anyway, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Check out under the video, I'm going to put in Bob's name and his site, along with Mark and Cheryl. Yeah, and Cheryl. Go check out their channels. Subscribe to them all, including mine. And why? Because it's free. And it might even be interesting too. Anyway, until next time, God bless.